Well, a very good morning to you all. And for class 10 English, today we are starting with a new chapter. That is the third chapter from your text, First Flight. The chapter titled Two Stories About Flying. Now, as the title itself suggests, this third chapter deals with two different stories that deals with the idea of flying. The first part is titled First Flight, and the second part titled Black Aeroplane. Both of them written by two different authors, two completely different stories which deals with the idea of flying. And today we are doing the first part, that is his first flight, written by Liam O'Flaherty. Now this chapter, the first flight, the first part, it deals with a young seagull, all right, who is afraid of flying. Now, a seagull is a bird which is known for flying and lives off by fishing, diving inside the sea waters, and hunting for fish. Right? So, these are very active birds. And for a young seagull to be afraid of flying was a thing unheard of. All right? And this story deals with how that seagull, young seagull, is able to overcome his fear of flying, right? What are the circumstances that change his perspective, that he doesn't have to be afraid, that he was meant to soar in the sky and dive into the sea. So that is what we will be dealing with in the first chapter. So with that, beginning the first chapter, let's go with the text. I would like you to have your text open as well, or you can read from the screen recording itself. So we start with the text. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. His two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. He had been afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. The great expanse of sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him, so he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings, and flew away, he failed to muster up courage to take that plunge, which appeared to him so desperate. His father and his mother had come around, calling to him shrilly, upbraiding him, threatening to leave him, let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. But for the life of him, he could not move. So we see a very young seagull who is afraid to take his first steps towards taking to the skies. He had built up a notion, or he had an idea that his wings are too small to support him, that it will not be able to support him if he jumps off the cliff. Even though his younger brothers and sister, who had far smaller wings than him, were able to fly away. So the parents were naturally irritated. They scolded him. They threatened him that if you don't fly, we will just leave you on the ledge. We will let you starve. And yet, he could not do it. He was genuinely afraid. That was 24 hours ago. Since then, nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sisters, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. He had in fact seen his older brother catch his first herring and devour it, standing on a rock while his parents circled around, raising a proud cackle. And all the morning the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. And so it had been 24 hours, all right, that he was hiding away in fear. And all that during that time he saw his parents teach their brother and sister how to move across the sky, how to dive into the sea and hunt for fish. In fact, his brother was able to catch his first herring. Now, herring is a type of small fish. And all this while they were taunting him for his cowardice. All right, they were making fun of him that you are such a coward. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. He slept slowly out to the brink of the ledge and started standing on one leg with the other leg hidden under his wing. He closed one eye and with the other he pretended to be falling asleep. Still, they took no notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers of his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet, and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear that away, scraping his beak now and then to wet it. So, now when the night time came, he felt the heat, all right, because he was hungry now. He was very hungry because he had not eaten the entire night. So he slowly came to the edge of the ledge, all right, and then with one leg hidden inside his feather, he pretended to be asleep. All right, he pretended that he was sleeping, even though he was not. And he could see that his mother was eating a piece of fish, all right, taking pieces out of the fish and then grinding her beak on the stone to sharpen it. So when he saw that, now he started to get angry. He was hungry. He wanted a piece of that fish. Ga, 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 he cried, begging her to bring him some food. Gao, kola, she screamed back derisively. But he kept calling plaintively, and after a minute or so, he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of the fish and was flying across to him with it. He leaned out eagerly, tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within reach of his beak. He waited for a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. And so, as he was trying to beg for food, all right, he started shouting at his mother. The mother did not take notice at first, but then he was happy because he saw his mother flying towards him with a piece of fish in her mouth. But as she came just opposite to him, she stopped. He could see that he was almost within reach. A piece of fish. So now he was so angry that he just jumped at the fish. All right, he dived at the fish, not realizing that he had jumped over the ledge. Now let's see what happens. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into space. Then a monstrous terror seized him, and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a minute. The next moment, he felt his wings spread outwards. The wings rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Ga, 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 ga. His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him screaming. He saw his two brothers and his sisters flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring. and diving. And so, accidentally, while lunging at the food, while jumping towards the food, he fell down from the cliff. And for a moment, he was afraid. He thought that he was going to die. But then suddenly, he realized that his wings were open and he wasn't falling. In fact, he was soaring. And so he now is no longer afraid. He is able to fly and he is very happy and he gives out shouts. And his mother is also flying beside him, soon to be joined by his father and his brothers and his sister as well. So the entire family was now flying through the sky, gliding across the open skies. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly, and commended himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. So now he forgot that just a few hours earlier he wasn't even able to fly and he was afraid to fly. He thought that now I have always been flying. So comfortable he was with the idea of flying. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight out over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him, with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. So now he was flying over the sea, and he could see the entire sea beneath him, and it amused him. His parents and his brothers and sisters had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. So from the sky, he could see that the sea was green, all right, and he saw that his parents, his father, his mother, his brother and sister, they landed on the water. And he just saw a plain of green. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. So they called him, come here, come join us. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. See, he has never experienced sea. He thought that it was a solid mass. So उसले बिस्तारै glide down गरेर खुट्टा राखे त्यो सीमा, thinking that he will be able to stand on it. His legs sank into it. Since his water, his legs started sinking. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. But he was tired and weak with hunger and could not rise, exhausted by the strange exercise. So, as he put his legs on the sea, obviously his feet sank inside the water. And he was afraid once again because he had never experienced water. So, he tried to fly away. But then he was so tired that he was unable to fly. His feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly touched it, and he sank no farther. But then he made a strange realization. Once usko khutta dube, then stomach adi dube, then he started floating. Just like how ducks float on water. He was floating on it. And around him, his family was screaming, praising him, and the beaks were offering him scrapes of dogfish. He had made his first flight. And so he realized that he does not even sink in water. And his parents are very happy. His entire family were cheering for him. And they even fed him pieces of dogfish. And that is how he made his first flight. All right. And with that, we come to the end of the first part. That is his first flight. In the next video, I'll be doing the second part. That is the black aeroplane. Now, for now, dear students, what is required out of you is that you go through the text word by word, all right? And then underline the difficult words, whichever you may find difficult, and try to find the meaning of it as well, all right? So until the next class, please take care and stay safe.